Hey you guys, it's Teresa and welcome back to my channel. Today's going to be another installment of Tea Talk, and the book we're going to be talking about today is To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. So without further ado, let's just jump right in. So I know you guys are wondering, where have you been this last week, Therese? And I know, I didn't post anything during the Christmas break, or like the last week during that Christmas-ish break, Christmas time. And for that, it's because finals kind of took a toll on me. I really kind of lacked the energy to do anything, like videos and like writing and reading. So I took the week off and just to kind of get back in the swing of things and relax for a bit. But here I am. And, why am I winded? Am I not used to talking anymore? Ooh. But yeah, here I am, and we're just going to go right on to this video. So, as per usual, I'm going to separate this off into like what the story is about, my first thoughts, what I liked, what I didn't like, my final thoughts, and my overall rating and would I recommend this book. So here we go. So for those of you who don't know, To All the Boys I Loved Before by Jenny Han is about this girl named Laura Jean, and she writes letters to all the boys she's loved before and keeps them in a little hat box that her deceased mother gave away to her. And one day those letters get out and all these secrets come spilling out, like the fact that she has been crushing on her sister's boyfriend for quite some time, and her sister's boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, one of the two, and it gets out to him, so she finds a way to cover up this fact because she doesn't want to be in love with her sister's boyfriend for obvious reasons, if that's not out there already. So my first thoughts on this book was that I was really reluctant to read it when I first heard about it on BookTube. It seemed like kind of the basic YA love story that I've just kind of grown tired of, with like the shy girl who like everyone seems to adore, the bad boy, the weird awkward love triangle, which I will get into in a second. And I finally decided to give it a chance. I don't know exactly what. I think I just kind of heard about it too much on the BookTube, and I was like, well, everyone seems to like it, so there has to be something that people enjoy, and let's just go right into it. So that's what I kind of did, and I'll leave my thoughts for after I read this book in a little bit. But what I did like about the book is that I like the character dynamics. I thought that the whole her dynamics with her sisters and her father, and then later Peter, was really cute, and I could really see kind of the goals of some of the characters. And it wasn't hard for me to see them kind of develop and grow and change throughout the novel. It was just a little, I don't want to say slow. It was gradual, we'll leave it there. I also kind of enjoyed the little love story that happened between Laura Jean and Peter. I thought it was very natural despite the original reasons for its starting. I definitely enjoyed how they kind of grew to complement one another, and they were overall just good together, and I liked that about them. I also kind of liked Peter's dependency on his ex-girlfriend Genevieve. I thought that there was something very, very natural and very human about it, because it's been his longest relationship ever. I'm assuming, I don't remember exactly if they said Genevieve was his first love, but that's kind of the assumption I'm going with here. So that's kind of where I'm getting with it, because he just kept falling back to her regardless of the situation. I thought that was a very human and very natural thing to do given the state of their relationship over the years. So as for things I didn't like, I didn't really enjoy Laura Jean's voice. I thought that her voice was really kiddish. She sometimes overreacted a lot, and I couldn't understand her motives at times, or where she was coming from in reasons as to why she did things. She just seemed very immature for someone who's in her junior year of high school and has kind of the world riding on her shoulders right now. She didn't seem to be very, she just seemed very childish from where she was coming from. She has the perfect sister, her dad's the best, and she just seemed very immature for her age, and I wasn't a fan of that. I thought that there could have been something more that would have given us some more depth to Laura Jean, but she just felt like a 12-year-old when I read off of her, especially at times. She overreacted. She was very emotional, which I understand is a teenage girl thing, but like I said, I wasn't a fan of it because it was over the top. It was very much like, oh my goodness, my life is over. I have nothing more to live for. That kind of stuff, and and the situations that it called for did not feel like that. And I know that it's like those moments, like in the moment kind of situations where they do feel that way, like the world is gonna end and everything's gonna crumble around. But I personally feel like it became too much of the focus. It wasn't a passing by kind of feeling. It was a continuous feeling that kept going on, and wasn't a fan of it. She read like a fan fiction protagonist, and not in the best way. Kind of those like newer fan fiction writers coming out where she just wasn't very understandable as a character. She seemed very Mary Sue-ish. Everyone loved her except like this handful of people, and only because she was dating the guy that Genevieve dated. She was also kind of very innocent, which isn't a bad thing. I think innocence is a very good thing to come about. But she didn't seem to understand the like situations or big pictures of things. You just kind of saw what she was being given at the moment, and I don't think, given the situation she was in with Peter and the situation she had gotten herself in, she could really afford to see in a very narrow-minded manner. And that stayed throughout the entire novel. That did not change. She didn't grow, and I just wasn't a fan of it. She was also very wishy-washy. There was a love triangle, but I couldn't tell exactly the basis of the love triangle, if that makes sense, because the book clearly set it up for Laura Jean and Peter, and not Laura Jean and her sister's boyfriend, Josh. However, she kept referencing to Josh, but there was never very many interactions with them because Laura Jean separates herself from Josh very early on in the book once the letters go out, and I didn't see how there was a possible love triangle because there wasn't a lot of interaction between the three of them together, if that makes sense, or Laura Jean and Peter, and then Laura Jean and Josh. There was just moments of Josh thrown in there, which I don't think was necessary. She also kind of cried a lot, and I don't know if that's just me, and too many tears in one like sitting kind of annoyed me because I get annoyed when I cry too much. But she seemed to cry a lot, and like I said, it kind of plays with the whole very innocent, very unknowing of what is going on with the situation, and I didn't like it. She also overreacted a lot. There was a scene where she gets slut-shamed, which is kind of the one of the more pivotal moments in the book, and she sobs hysterically, and it's like the end of her life, but at the same time, she knew the truth as to what happened. Peter had said that he told everyone that when they found out that nothing had happened, and she was still very unwilling to accept the fact, and I just wasn't a fan of it. The situation to me could have gone a completely different way, and Laura Jean could have shown maturity in the situation, and it just didn't happen. I also thought the ending was kind of really wishy-washy. It wasn't an ending to a book, it was a cliffhanger. And not a very good cliffhanger, it was just her beginning to write a letter, and I was not a fan of that. I thought that there could have been a better way to end the book. Give us some real closure, because if this book hadn't turned into a duology or a trilogy, one of the two, then we wouldn't have gotten that kind of closure, and we never really understood the situation that happened and how she came to this conclusion. And I just wasn't a fan. So my last thoughts on this book after reading it and kind of analyzing it past the fluffy cuteness, past me giggling during certain times, I thought it was a very fluffy read, and I can see why a lot of people enjoy this read. I can see why it's become such a big book. It's like I said, it's very fluffy, it's very cute. You don't have to, I don't want to say you don't have to think, but a lot of this stuff kind of happens for you and whatnot. I do think that Laura Jean's voice is something that needs to be worked on. She's still a very immature person, and I think that this is a YA. Since this is a YA book, it should represent kind of the voices of the people who are reading it. And right now, it's reading more of a middle grade novel, and I am reading a middle grade novel right now, and those kids are way more mature than the voices that Laura Jean has situated in here. That's kind of, it's like her voice overall is very hard to see her age, and I just I couldn't get to it. I want to read the next book just to see what had happened, because the ending wasn't much of an ending. It was just there, and I think that given what happened with the characters and what was going on and kind of the situation, I wanted to see more of a bit of closure between that. But who knows? We'll see what happens in the next book. For my overall rating, I give this a 3 out of 5 stars. For all the reasons that I said below. I was originally a 4 out of 5 stars, but then I thought about it more and I was like, I don't think I can give this a 4 out of 5 and not feel like I'm lying to everyone who I'm recommending this book to or giving my final thoughts on with. But I definitely would recommend if you're looking for a really good fluffy read, because this was a really good read. It was really fluffy, it was really light, nothing too dark, and I think I can see why everyone seems to enjoy it. But yeah, that is it for my thoughts on To All the Boys I've Loved Before. Thanks for watching this tea talk. If you guys are interested in more, there's probably a playlist somewhere here. I'll leave my previous tea talk and my other book reviews somewhere down around this area. But other than that, I will see you guys in my next video. I will have one up on Tuesday. But until then, bye.